Hey guys, this is Hannah and this is Bookworms Talk. And today I'm going to talk about Point of Retreat by Colleen Hoover. This book currently holds the #1 spot for most amount of tears cried in such a short amount of chapters. When you buy this, buy a box of tissues. You will need it. I legitimately began crying the second page in. And then I was good for a while, and then I cried again. Then I was good for a really long while, and then I don't know what was holding back before, but the dam broke. If there was a quote to describe this book, it would be to question everything but regret nothing, because if you question things then you can prevent them from occurring in the future, and Lake takes that to heart. I mean, the prologue, because we see this from Will's point of view, and we get his little writing pieces because we fell in love with his slams and his poetry. Seeing it in his eyes is just even better, and he writes these little pieces at the beginning of each chapter in replacement for the Abbott Brothers quotes that we had in the book before, and I think I actually like this better than the Abbott Brothers quotes. It sounds weird, but I really loved Will's slams. I mean, the quotes from the band, which I'm now in love with, by the way. It was just beautiful insights, and it's because that's what Will's dad told him to do before, and Will hasn't done it, and now he starts to, and damn if it's a good time to start it, because he definitely needed it. And it explains how Julia died, and it's in this short, condensed thing, but then he says, I didn't expect her death to be as hard on me as it was. It was almost like losing my mother all over again. The tears. The tears. Guys, the tears. It really seems like life just doesn't want them to be together, but then at the same time life keeps pulling them together, and things get screwy, and life gets in their damn way again. I expect nothing less, and they have endured so much already, and it doesn't stop. Lakin keeps just wanting to carve pumpkins, to not talk about things, and he's fighting, because that's what you have to do with life. You have to fight back at it. We get to see Lake learn to be a mom, and we get to see Will be a father, and it's a beautiful story, and I don't want to give much away, so I'm being very vague with you guys, so I'm gonna say goodbye if you haven't read it. I'll see you guys later when you have. I bring tissues, okay? Alright, bye. So Vaughn is in Will's class. Ex-girlfriend Vaughn. Same Vaughn that dumped him in the same 2-week period that his parents died, his brother was in a car accident, he lost his scholarship, and now he has to be a parent. That Vaughn. But it gets better. She tries to pick up on him. After doing that to him, and after he said that he's in a relationship with someone, she still tries to pick up on him. But it gets better still. Will doesn't tell Lake about Vaughn being in the class. An innocent enough lie, we think, but that ends up being a seriously big problem. I mean, the thing that started it all. Whoa, but wait. Better still, Vaughn shows up to his house, and then she's trying to apologize for how she broke it off with him, and he's just telling her to leave, but then she's crying, and he's just a nice guy, and his kindness is the root to the entire problem of this book. And he feels bad, and he kisses her forehead, and Lake sees it, and that is his thing with Lake, and Lake is upset, obviously, and Lake feels betrayed, then it makes her question everything, the entire base of their relationship. And then when she finally listens to Will, and he tries to explain what happened, all she can think is what Vaughn said to him about Lake and Will's relationship, and that he feels sorry for her, and that he just has too good of a heart to ever break up with her, and is it really what he wants? Why does he love her? And she begins to question that, and just the word question in this book made me think of what Julia said about questioning everything, and then you won't regret. And the thing is, Lake's not thinking just for herself, she's thinking for Calder and Kel, and I get that, but you're wrong, Lake. Eddie's pregnant. I was like, Gavin was so, he was so, I mean, I think that's like a really good thing, like a blessing in disguise almost for Eddie, because she didn't have a good relationship with her mother, and then we find out later that it's a girl, and then it's like this whole chance for her to do everything right that her mother did wrong, and I just had that whole scenario going in my head, but I think that's what would have happened had it been spelled out to us, and it makes me happy. I love Kirsten and her mother. She is a devious little child, and they all began conspiring to get Lake and Will back together. They're working with Will because Lake is being ridiculous, and they're like, oh, I'll steal her, I'll take her purse, I'll keep her keys, we'll sit her in the middle of the booth, I'll do this, I'll go over and talk to her, you pay me with poems, and it's brilliant. Will disconnects her battery because he's so desperate to talk to her, and he knows that she has to go to Detroit, and he's going to Detroit, and it just makes sense to take a car together, and she's just being stubborn, and God love you, Will, for disconnecting her battery. And then in the laundry room at his grandparents' house, we think, this is, okay, so they made up. We're fine now, right? Like, okay. No, of course not. And she had to call it a weak moment, because that sucked enough the first time. Let's say it a second time. And that was my break from tears up until this point at the grandparents' house. And Hell calls Will's grandpa Grandpaul, And then his grandpa calls Kel Grand Kel. Don't know why that made me cry so hard. I really don't. I mean, that broke the dam of tears I was holding back. Like, the dam is gone now, guys, and I've consistently cried throughout the rest of the book. And I thought when they said that I'm gonna call him Grandpa and I'm gonna call him Grand Kel, that would do a lot to sway Lake and make her realize that it's not just her, and that she needs to listen because it's Kel too, and it's Caller too. And I thought that would make her sway so much, but I guess it didn't as much as I thought. And Lake's whole speech about why it is that he loves her. Is it because they were late in the way of death? Because they both encountered a lot of that at such a young age. The one thing that I hear out of it is that she'll wait weeks, months, for him to decide this. It's not a matter of if she loves him, because she does. She doesn't want him to regret choosing her for the wrong reasons, and she questions everything so that there won't be regret down the road, and I understand where she's coming from. But it made sense, but I hated her for it. We know Will's heart, so we knew it would be okay, and it's a matter of how he decides to tell her how he loves her. When Sherry shows Will the video of Jim proposing to her, and she says, "That was true love. I've seen Lakin, and she loves you like that." And I'm freaking crying because Sherry reminds me so much of Julia now. And she's become this mother figure when she got the medicine when they had food poisoning, and she's there to talk to Will about Lake, and when Calder talked about the dad day thing and asked Will to go there because his dad's dead, and he was so blunt about it, and then Will says, yeah, I'm going, I'll go, and then he's like, I want to go for you too, I'd be honored. And I just start crying at the idea of that, because he is like Kel's dad, because that's all he has, that's all Calder has, and that's what he is to them, just like Lake is their mother, and it's just... Will slam. At first glance, at first smile, at first kiss, at first fall. He pulls out the Darth Vader shoes. You were wearing these during one of those moments. One of the moments I first started to fall in love with you. The way you made me feel that morning had absolutely nothing to do with anyone else and everything to do with you. I was falling in love with you that morning because of you. Then he pulls out the gnome. This ugly little gnome with its smug little grin. He's the reason I had an excuse to invite you into my house, into my life. You took a lot of aggression out on him over the next few months. I would watch you from my window as you kicked him over every time you walked by. Poor little guy. He was so tenacious. That feisty, aggressive, strong-willed side of you, the side of you that refused to take crap from this concrete gnome, the side of you that refused to take crap from me, I fell in love with that side of you because of you. And then he takes out her CD. This is your favorite CD, Lakin's Shit. Although I knew you intended for shit to be possessive rather than descriptive, the banjo started playing through the speakers of your car, and I immediately recognized my favorite band. Then when I realized it was your favorite band too, the fact the same lyrics inspired both of us, I fell in love with that about you. I had absolutely nothing to do with anyone else, and he kept the receipt with the chocolate milk on the rocks, and that she ordered it because she doesn't care what anybody else thinks of her. Yes, she's different, she doesn't care. And he kept her poem mean. She called him a jackass and a bastard and a dickhead and all this stuff, and he kept it because he never wanted to be any of those things to her again. He pulled out her purple hair clip. This purple hair clip, it really is magic, just like your dad told you it was. It's magic because no matter how many times it let you down, you keep having hope in it. You keep trusting it. No matter how many times it fails you, you never fail it. Just like you never fail me. I love that about you because of you. Your mother was an amazing woman, Lake. I'm blessed that I got to know her, and that she was a part of my life too. I came to love her as my own mother, just as she came to love Calder as her own. I didn't love her because of you, Lake. I loved her because of her. So thank you for sharing her with us. She had more advice about life and love and happiness and heartache than anyone I've ever known. But the best advice she ever gave me, the best advice she ever gave us, sometimes two people have to fall apart to realize how much they need to fall back together. And then he goes on to talk about the booth and how when he watched her, when she watched her first performance, that he fell in love with her. And then he goes on to say how they both lost their parents, and yes, that's how they relate, and they both are raising their brothers, and so what? He's like, I love you for all the reasons behind this, behind these things that have happened to us, no matter the circumstances behind them. And he's like, I don't need days, I don't need weeks, I didn't need 2 seconds to think of why I love you. I love you because of you. I was an emotional wreck, and then before he said it was an emergency, and they wouldn't let her leave, and it was... And then out in the cars, oh man, the cars. I had a bad feeling about this situation of the leaving. I didn't have any idea that there was going to be an accident. I had no idea, but I just got that really bad feeling like there's this much of the book left. It can't be good, easy sailing from here. It just can't. We know Colleen Hoover. There has to be more tragedy. And then car goes over the median and hits Lake's car, and then it's just chaos, and he's looking for her, and Eddie and the boys. And when the accident happened, all I could think is that this is what happened with Calder before with his parents, and then Kel, what if something happens to Lake? It's not just Will. I, of course, was thinking about Will first, and then I thought, Kel, she's all he has left. And no one's giving them answers about Lake, and then Kel asks, what if something happens to her that she can't take care of me? What happens to me then? And then Will's like, you and me are in this together no matter what happens. About the time I can, like, start breathing normal again, something happens. Like Sherry's saying to the nurse that Will was her son. And I don't know why, that just made me cry more. It was already a blubbering mess. But I mean, I was really crying then. And then Sherry said that she was proud of him and that if his parents were alive, they would be so proud of him. And then she says how Jim, the man that proposed to her in the video, he died a year after that he proposed. And it was in a car accident, and it was so similar to what could have happened if Lake died. And it hurt because that made it a very real possibility. And then she said his name, and he kept saying, she said my name, she said my name. Like, we start to think everything's gonna be okay. And then he gets to bring Lake home, and I can breathe, I'm composed again now. And then he goes to school on Dad Day, and Calder's there. And so he goes and gets Kel and Kirsten, and he tells it to those bullies, and he's like, you know why I'm not a teacher anymore? Someone did something that hurt someone that was important to me, and these two are important to me. And he basically threatens them in, like, the best, can't really get bitched up for that sort of way. And yes, Will. Oh, but the brilliance of this whole thing is when he's like, thank you, Mrs. Brills, for understanding that there are certain families that don't have fathers and that there are different circumstances. Thank you for understanding that. And then what's she supposed to say to that? What? No. So she's like, you're welcome. And it was, yes, I hate that woman. Kirsten's butterfly poem. Butterfly you, Mrs. Brills, butterfly you, Mark. And then it was so funny and no one else understood it, and that was the best part. Oh man, but then Calder's poem, I cried then too. He was saying how he was remembering his parents less and less with every passing day, and how Will deserved a chance at being young, and how he owes him so many thank yous and so many I love yous, so many I'm sorry's, and I just cried so hard. So after the talent show, he packed grilled cheese, and then they started playing Would You Rather. Freaking grilled cheese made me tear up. What's wrong with me? And he plays I and Love and You. And I already knew that song from what I started looking up all the Abbott Brothers things when I was reading Slammed, and I immediately loved that song. I'm like, this is so pretty. Why aren't we getting, it's in Point of Retreat though, that's why. And in the very, very beginning, first chapter, and she's like, say it one more time, I love you. Again, I and Love and You, and then he started playing I and Love and You. And he didn't ask her to marry him. He told her because he couldn't live without her. And it's just like Jim did with Sherry. And he gave her mother's ring. And I can't, so many tears. And they don't want a big thing, which is good, and it's not what I would have thought for them. And then because they're gonna live together and they're gonna stay at Will's, and so she gives Eddie and Gavin the house, the 3 months that her mom paid for, and said, you guys can have it. And Gavin's so protective of Eddie now, and he's just like fawning over her, and it's precious, and everything is just falling together for once. And then when they get married, Lake wears the ugly shirts, and I could not laugh at that. And they both wear jeans, and it's, yes, and then they like fall into the man's room, and they're like, go, go, go. And it's really funny, and they're just husband, wife, every second, and it's precious with them, and I normally find it annoying, but it's not at all. I cried a lot, but it didn't start until Grand Paul and Grand Kel, and from then on the tears were there. But up to that point, like the first 2 pages, like after we were done with Julia's presents and the stars that she left them, I was okay. Every time a star came up, I cried, but otherwise I was good. And like for the majority of the book, I really was, but then I all kinds of lost it towards the end, and that's why this, my friends, holds that spot currently. Yeah. Let me know what was your guys' favorite part, or no, what was your favorite star from Julia? Slammed was insightful, and this was learning to get through the tougher parts. Not that Slammed wasn't tough, but this is just, now you're on your own and having to make these decisions by yourself, and that kind of tough. It's 2 different types. It was worth every tear, and now I'm part of the Butterfly Club, and I'm content with where the story ended, but I still want more. As far as continuing in their story, I don't know, but I'm actually okay with that because I see how they parent and that they both are a part in these choices in life, and they'll get through it, and I'm not really worried about that. I still want more from them, but that means more tragedy, so I think I'm okay with where we stand. I'm gonna go carve pumpkins. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.